Good morning, traders. Today is Thursday, January 26th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream, where we look at the ES and the NQ on the market profile. Speaking of which, what do we have happening here in front of us? Say it ain't so. That's right, folks. I started the day yesterday bearish. Okay? Because we had a break of momentum up. We had a look above and fail. And then we had a gap down. So I was bearish. But guess what the market went and did? Completely reversed that momentum. Slowly but surely, short covering and FOMO buying worked its way all the way back up into the upper end of the previous day's range. And then at the very end of the day, spiked up. Literally in just the last minutes of the day, it spiked up. So what does that tell me? Well, obviously the momentum we started the day with yesterday on the downside is over, and we're starting new momentum to the upside with the spike up. So that is bullish for me to see. When I open up my chart the next morning and I see that we have a gap up, so a spike up that leads to a gap up, it has me bullish. So started yesterday bearish because of a gap down, starting today bullish because of a gap up. Hey man, these markets change their mind quick, and you just got to go with the flow. It's also worth taking just a moment to step back and look at the daily. Opening up above yesterday's high really sets us up nicely on the daily for two reasons. One, it is another attempt to break out of this balance. We've attempted several times before and have not succeeded yet. We keep getting pulled back in, but it looks like we're making another attempt here. We're going to try to break out of balance. The other thing is the back test of that downtrend. Yesterday was the first time since the beginning of the bear market we've been able to back test and hold this downtrend. I keep talking about it. Tested it once and failed. Tested it twice and failed. Tested it, got above it. Retest, failed. This time around, tested it, got above it. Retest, succeeded. Ding, 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 ding. So there's going to be a lot of people who look at the daily chart, who wake up this morning and see this setup is very bullish. Those are longer term buyers that may start to step in. So all of those things together are bullish. What are we going to do on the intraday? Well, first things first, what do we always do when we have a gap? We assume that the first order of business for the market will be to fill that gap. So the first question on our mind when the market opens this morning, sorry about the noise, they're working on the pipes in the building. The question is, can they fill that gap? Can the market work its way back down to 40.41, which was the high? Actually, we got to get to yesterday's high. Sorry about that. To 40.36. All right, so the market is open. So like I said, first order of business, can they get down there and fill the gap and get to yesterday's high? If they can, do they find support there? Support at yesterday's high is bullish for continuation to the upside. As a matter of fact, support anywhere above yesterday's high is bullish as a gap and go. Only if we start to pull back down into yesterday's range do we start to get bearish. Until then, we assume, because we had the spike up saying momentum, and because we had the gap up saying momentum, we assume we have momentum. All right, so this is obviously short covering. I wouldn't consider this gap and go just yet. It happened too quickly. They didn't really get a chance to pull back and try to fill the gap. So probably this is just those first people waking up in the morning and being like, oh no, get me out of my trades. Obviously, I will become bullish if they can turn the overnight high or the halfback right around 40.63 into support, but I don't think they will. All right, I'm now going to consider this high weak just because it is an algorithm that's holding the market down there. And if they're trying to pin the market right above the overnight high, you know why they're doing it. They're trying to convince buyers that it's support to put their stops in here so they can torch them and then come back up for the sellers who put their stops there. So I consider that a weak high now. So if the market passes back through the opening price once again, that is the beginning of a gap fill signal. So the question is, can they get to yesterday's high without coming back up and passing through the current high? Gentlemen, Dylan, there were some large buy orders entered just before the bell. Could have been sellers getting out of their shorts. Or options buyers getting out of their hedge. There's just no way to know. All right. Well, that was a fair attempt to try to get there and fill the gap. They found support at the opening price, so I'm now bullish for a gap and go as long as they stay above the open. Again, if they come crashing back through the opening price, if they come through 40.59, then they are looking to try to fill the gap. But for now, it looks like they're trying to bring in the buyers for the gap and go. And And we also have a week high. Oh, man, another iceberg in the same spot. Wonder why they're doing that. All right, so if the buyers want to save it, if they want to get the gap and go, this is the moment they have to defend. They got lots of stops waiting now above that A period high. Can they go get them? Mark, gap fill a lurkin', stops above a twerkin'. Magnets on both sides of the market. Manny, how do you identify an iceberg? Do you see where they have the two little triangles on top of each other and then the number? That's the icebergs. And then where it has the little circle, that's the stops. So obviously the green circle are the shorts getting stopped out, and the red circles are the longs getting stopped out. All right, so we're back for that week high. Are they going to do it again? Is there going to be another iceberg that pops up here? Or do they want to go get them, that liquidity? Oh, nope, another iceberg. They want to build up some more. They want to get some more short-term traders short. All right, so there you go. That's 117. That's the liquidity we're talking about. They did all this work to get this liquidity up here so that right now you would be feeling FOMO. Like, oh no, did I miss my chance? Do you see how they just did that? So now everyone wants to go long because they just saw that happen. But now where are all the longs putting their stops? Where are they building up the liquidity now? So at this point, to stay bullish, I need to see the market get back above this node at 40.65 and then stay above it and get new buyers. Otherwise, that was all just a short squeeze to convince a bunch of people to go long so that they could liquidate. So we need the buyers now to push above that node and hold, or we're looking at a gap fill. All right, I am back to neutral, looking for a gap fill. I suspect this move to the upside was just to get a bunch of buyers in here above the open so we could get their stops just below. And once those stops start to fill, so will that gap. So I'm no longer bullish. Not bearish, just looking for a gap fill. Just looking to get to yesterday's high, and then we'll see what happens there. Ross, where is the half gap fill? Subtract 36 from 60, and it's half of that number. Okay, A period low is weak. So now the question is, does the opening price become resistance? We got two magnets below. We got the gap fill pulling on the market, and we got the weak low they just made pulling on the market. So if the resistance hold, the assumption is they're heading down towards that weakness. Okay, first week reference repaired. Next potential support around 45. Daniel ticks below zero. Yeah, I mean, there's a liquidation happening right now, so got to give the ticks a second. Very mechanical, very weak low. Okay, no support there. Looks like they need the full gap fill. They got a gap fill to bring in the buyers. They got a gap fill to squeeze all the sells. Low's weak once again. I don't need to mark it. You guys know. So again, we're waiting to see what happens at yesterday's high, 40.36. There's a very, very real possibility there are buyers waiting there. It is very realistic to imagine a bounce. The reason being, a lot of the sellers in here this morning are just selling to get that gap fill. That's where they're going to take profits and become buyers. There's also going to be a lot of other traders who wouldn't be willing, even if they woke up this morning bullish because of the gap up, they're not willing to buy up here. They want to wait for that gap to fill to buy. So you got both groups of people, new buyers that show up at the gap fill and old sellers that become buyers when they take profits. So it's only if yesterday's high breaks, and I don't mean to a tick, I just mean this general area. It's only if this really breaks that we start to get bearish. Otherwise, this may have just been a liquidation to bring in the buyers. Sometimes the market has to break before it can rally. So let's see what happens. Mark looks like potential front run. Yeah, but they're too early. There's still liquidity waiting at that gap fill. Skewball sellers for the gap fill will panic. Not unless we get back through the open. It's so funny how much Bookmap like changes the way I look at markets. At this moment back in the day, I would be literally yelling at the microphone right now, like, who are these buyers? Who is the short-term idiot that's buying above the gap fill? Like, but now I know. I'm like, oh, it's the bot doing it to get more short-term traders long, to get more stops. Now it all makes sense to me who these weak buyers are. There you go, to get those 98 right there. Who are these buyers? I don't do a good Jerry Seinfeld. I should, though. All right, so that's the gap filled. So now the question is, do buyers step in here looking to keep the momentum going on the daily, or do we start to pull back down into yesterday's range? I'll let them have the spike as sort of the wiggle room where they can grind around in here looking for support. But if they break 40.31, I am bearish. As a look above and fail of yesterday's range and a second look above and fail of the balance area high. So come on, buyers. All right, well, I do not like the weak low. I do not like it, as you know. But support at a fill is good to win the bill. Shit. Walk myself into a corner there. Yeah, so far, that's support at yesterday's high. I don't love it because it's a weak high. I'm sorry, a weak low. But let's see what happens. Is this support? Can they hold it? All right, there's your home sales bot. So as always, we want to wait for the liquidity to come back. When we see the market go dark like this, we can't trust any sort of short-term moves it's making because we know they can be reversed very, very quickly. So we want to wait till we start to see the yellowish color start to come back before we know whatever the results are can be trusted. Right now, it's support. Can we trust it? John says nothing burger. The news may have been a nothing burger, but whether or not we hold this high is a big something burger for the rest of the day. Okay, support is holding. Liquidity is very slowly beginning to step back in. I really wish we did not have such a weak low. All right, well, that's support. I'm bullish as long as we stay above yesterday's high. Basically, as long as we don't go repair that weak low. So tricky signal here. Do not take the trade unless you yourself see a reason to, because I could be wrong. There's a magnet pulling on price, but I just feel like we might have more buyers, even with that weak low. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate you, brother. Why is that low so weak, Charles? Why are you freaking out about it? Who cares? You got your gap fill. You got your buyers. Wasn't that what you were looking for? Yeah, but they're too freaking exact. They're not supposed to step in literally a half a point below the high of the previous day. That's suspicious to me. So yes, we've got all the signals. We've got the gap. We've got the gap fill, which is now turning into a gap and go. So we should be bullish to the moon. But for some reason, I just don't like that low. Skewball, on the other hand, the low wasn't made by an iceberg. That is true. Jeez Louise, guys. Twice in one morning again. I'm on a roll. Back to neutral. Motherfucker. All right. So like I said before, I'm not going to get bearish as long as we're inside the spike, as long as we're above 31. But if we break that, I am instantly bearish for a look above and fail. But I'll let them repair this weak low before I completely lose faith. Let's take a look at the Qs. What's the NQ got for us today? Ooh, man, Q is so much stronger than the ES. So they haven't even filled their gap yet. So NQ also had a spike up yesterday. Also had a gap up today. Still inside the gap. They got the half gap fill. And they're finding support there. So that is not bearish. One might even call that bullish, in fact. That's a gap and go. Huh. Yeah, you got a good low, good taper. Can they hold the support? Can they hold 11,964? You can really get bullish. I mean, really get bullish on the Q if they can get back above that overnight high. If they work their way back through the opening price and above 12,028, then they can really take off. Daniel, the S&P has Tesla. Michael, if the Qs take off, I think the ES would as well. I would agree. I can't believe it. So I would say I'm bullish once again, but I'm not willing to trade for it right now. So I'm not willing to buy support here the way I normally would if I got bullish right now, just because of how funky today has been. And the fact that we still have these 2-week lows exactly both times at yesterday's high. That's too suspicious for me to be willing to go long here. But I will say they just did it again. Found support above yesterday's high. So technically, this would be what you would see before the market would begin to move higher. So it is bullish. I just don't trust it enough to get into a trade. What would get me into a trade now if we can get above halfback and then find support above there. So that's 4,050. If we can push back above there and find new buyers up there, that would start to make me confident enough to maybe go long. But in here, it just still feels like a bit of a crapshoot. But it is the market generated information is bullish. We also got a low volume node right there at halfback that needs backfilling. Okay, backfilled. Thomas, it would piss off retail so much right now if it pumps. It would piss off me if it pumps. Getting a perfect gap fill and not getting in the gap and go. Come on. Well, I'll be darned. And now we're above halfback. Well, folks, they got me. I looked a little too hard at the weakness. I formed a bias. And I fought the momentum. And of course, in hindsight, the ticks told the tale. Sellers just could not remain in control. Okay, so I will officially turn the banner green if we can find some support and stay up here above the halfback. The next goal would then be passing through the opening price. If we don't get resistance there, testing the overnight high, and then looking for new buyers up there for continuation higher. Can they do it? By the way, Scooball, if this does turn into a trend day higher, it will put some validity to our conversation yesterday about the difference between weak references that are created purely because of the price level and created by a iceberg, because those weak lows were not icebergs. All right, there's the new buyers. I'm bullish. Like I said, if you want to be truly safe, you would wait till we got above the overnight high. But this is a gap and go. And it will shock you how far they can push it when they have the momentum. Thomas, we're right at the downtrend line that everyone and their mother is watching. Not the way I was watching it. The way I was watching it, we bounced off it yesterday. But you. Oh, man. Look at that. We're setting up for the 20 moving average to cross over the 50 pretty soon. And the 50 to cross the 200 on the daily. That could happen next week. All right. Well, just like passing through the opening price on the way down increased the odds that it was a gap fill, now passing back through the open on the way back up increases the odds that it's a gap and go. Another sign of momentum. So the next question is, can they get above the overnight high? 40.64. And if they do they find new buyers up there? Oh, yep. The Q is pure rocket sauce. To the moon, baby. To the moon. Oh, I just don't have anything. All right, so next major resistance for the Q is about 11,100. So now they got above the overnight high. The question is, can they turn it into support for continuation? All right. Well, where are we at here in the C period? We're opening inside the initial balance and right in the middle of the gap. And we just now failed to have support at the halfback. So that's a little bit bearish to see. Obviously, if the market had momentum, gap and go is about momentum. It's about excitement. It's about buyers feeling like they just have to get long or they're going to miss their chance. The market's going to run away without them if they don't get long. That's what the gap and go is all about. So not finding support at the halfback here is a little bit bearish to see. They should have been able to have those excited buyers jump in. But I'm going to remain bullish here pretty much as long as we stay above yesterday's high. Just because if the market is getting good support, I want to see it. I don't want the same thing that happened to me a few minutes ago to happen again. I don't want to be so obsessed with the idea that we need to repair this weakness that if the market is finding support, I don't miss it. You know what I mean? I'm not busy looking in the wrong direction. So I'm going to remain bullish with the assumption that this is a gap and go and that we do have momentum and that momentum is likely to take the market higher. I'm going to keep that perspective unless we get back down to the lows. Okay. As far as trading it is concerned, as I said, the safest bet, if you just wanted to be cautious, is to wait for getting above the overnight high. A great way to do that would be if the C period comes up and it breaks the A period high, we start one time framing. Likely that overnight high then becomes support. So that would be like a much, much safer way to go long today, waiting for the confirmation we're trending and then buying support rather than trying to guess inside of here, which it seems would be more difficult. With that, I bid you farewell. I say goodbye to you, and you, and hello to all the members of the brigade when they head on over to the private stream. Thank you guys very much, and we'll see you here tomorrow morning.